What happens to the cremated at midnight? Shocking Bible truth revealed. The clock struck midnight, and a chilling fog rolled over the graveyard like a shroud, swallowing the ground in ghostly silence. Legends speak of restless souls emerging from eternal rest, but what happens to the cremated? Do their ashes dance in the dark? Are their secrets burning deep beneath the surface? A thrill ran through the townsfolk as they recounted whispered tales of strange sparks seen flickering above the memorials on moonless nights. Shadows twisting and turning to the rhythm of forgotten memories. It was enough to make anyone shiver. As the old librarian, Miss Clara, leaned in closer to the flickering candlelight, her eyes sparkled with mischief. "Did you know," she began, her voice dripping with intrigue, "that right after the ashes are scattered, something very mysterious occurs? At the witching hour, an ancient ritual comes alive. They say if you listen closely, you can hear the faint whispers of those long gone, as they recount their untold stories." Her words hung in the air like an uninvited guest. With each passing second, tension hung like a storm cloud, dark and foreboding. A young man named Jake felt a tightness in his chest. What if the tales were true? He glanced around, each face reflecting fear and fascination. Then it happened. A sudden clang from the rusty gates echoed in the distance, and everyone jumped in unison. Low murmurs rippled through the crowd. What was that? Did you hear it? Their hearts raced. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the old gate creaked open wider, a gust of wind swept through, carrying with it a haunting melody. It floated above the graves like a lullaby from the afterlife. Jake's heartbeat quickened, his palms clammy. Could it be a sign? Just then, a figure appeared in the distance, a silhouette against the starless sky. Whispers echoed again, now blended with a bitter laughter that sent shivers down their spines. Was this the beginning of the end, or just the edge of something far darker? The fog thickened, leaving everyone breathless. The midnight hour was upon them, and the answers they sought were just out of reach. What revelation would the darkness bring? The figure in the distance drew closer, its form shifting in and out of focus, swallowed by the thick, curling fog. Jake's breath hitched as a gasp trembled through the crowd. They all felt it, the pull of something greater than fear, resonating deeply within their bones. This was no ordinary evening. This was a summons. Who? What is that? A woman's voice, shaky yet demanding, broke through the murmurings. The townsfolk strained to see, squinting into the gloom. The silhouette stepped into the flickering light from Clara's candle, revealing a gaunt face, hollowed cheeks, and empty eyes that seemed to burn with an inner fire. It smiled, but the grin held no warmth, only a haunting promise of truths they might not be ready to confront. "I am the keeper of what lies beneath," it rasped, voice like dry leaves rustling. "Your recollections of the cremated, they linger here. Their ashes are not gone, they sing still, waiting for the brave to hear their stories." A cold knot twisted in Jake's stomach. "What do you mean?" he called out, searching for courage in the face of the unknown. "Midnight marks the thinning of the veil," it said, advancing closer. "Tonight, as bonfires burn and stars collide, the whispers will blend with the flames. The cremated bundle their desires, their despair, their revelations into the very earth you stand upon." The crowd shifted uneasily, eyes darting between Clara and the figure. Tension crackled in the air. Would someone dare step forward, confront the ghostly enigma that had arrived? The figure raised a skeletal finger, pointing to a freshly covered plot not far from where they stood. "That one. She calls for you." The air thickened, charged with ominous energy. Her ashes churn in unrest. She holds the key to secrets long buried. Jake felt an anxious jolt. Who? What secrets? The ghostly figure let out a low, mocking laugh, so chilling it sent shivers through the crowd's very marrow. Ah, young man, all will be revealed, if you dare to listen. The wind roared, sending waves of frozen dread through Jake. There was no turning back. He glanced over his shoulder at the anxious faces of his friends and the nervous glances of the townsfolk. Suddenly, an inexplicable urge surged within him, a calling he could neither understand nor ignore. Let us see if anyone is willing to turn back time, to unearth truths that remain cloaked in silence. The shadowy figure's presence grew heavier, suffocatingly so, as the fog beckoned ominously. As all eyes turned to him, tension heightened like the taut strings of a bow. I'll go, he finally stammered, the resolve barely there. I'll hear what she has to say. For one brief moment, the world froze. The figure grinned wider, revealing teeth that glimmered in the eerie light. Then tonight, my brave boy, you shall not only uncover ashes but resurrect memories. As Jake took a step toward the grave, whispers grew louder, a symphony of longing that pierced the fog. The smell of earth filled his lungs, mingled with the heart-stopping dread coiling in his gut. Are you ready to face what others fear? The figure purred, a sinister anticipation dancing in its voice. Jake swallowed hard, terror and curiosity battling within him. He reached for the freshly turned earth, fingers trembling as they brushed against the cool soil. In that moment, he knew the journey to dark revelations was about to begin, and the ultimate truth waited just beneath the surface, desperate to be unearthed. What secrets would the grave reveal? The clock ticked ominously. The night was far from over, and as darkness deepened, more than just ashes awaited their reckoning. Jake's heart raced as he crouched by the grave, the cold fear wrapping itself around him like a vice. He could feel the weight of the townsfolk's stares on his back, their breaths held in collective anticipation. In that moment, the world beyond the fog felt distant and unreal, like a dream he could not shake. Who calls for me? He murmured, not even sure if he believed the figure's words. As he dug his fingers into the earth, a chill slithered up his spine. The soil was damp and cool, almost alive beneath his touch, pulsing with hidden energies. What if he found something he wasn't prepared for? What if? Listen closely, the figure urged, voice a sinuous whisper wrapping around him. Her words are buried deep, yet they echo in the night. The pain of the dead outlives their ashes. Jake's hands trembled, the tip of his finger grazing something firm and solid beneath the soil. A dread flooded through him, but he pressed forward. He had to know. He needed to break the silence that shrouded the past, a past that seemed to cling to him, refusing to let go. With a sharp inhale, he thrust his hand deeper, pulling away clumps of earth. The crowd edged closer, a hesitant swarm, the air thick with suspense. Clara stepped forward, her eyes bright yet fearful. Jake, maybe this isn't a good idea. Her voice was lost in the rising climax of anticipation, and Jake barely registered her concern. Suddenly, his fingers brushed against something rough wood. With a surge of panic mixed with determination, he gripped it firmly and unearthed a small, weathered box. The moment he pulled it free, the atmosphere changed. A swirling wind whipped through the gathering, carrying anguished whispers, sadness that seeped deep into his bones. What have you done? The figure hissed, eyes narrowing in what could only be described as fury or perhaps desperation. Jake's blood ran cold as he flipped the box open, heart slamming against his ribcage. Inside lay a collection of trinkets, worn photographs, a tiny silver locket, and a fraying letter covered in familiar handwriting. His mother's. A wave of heat washed over him as he recognized the delicate script. Even in death, she reached out to him through the past. Each item held an echo of her sorrow, her unfulfilled dreams, secrets long stifled by the weight of grief. There it is, her memory. Do you see? The figure's smile twisted with a dark satisfaction. She was never truly at rest, the embers of her heart linger still, yearning for recognition. Jake hesitated, fingers trembling over the letter. Why? Why didn't she just let go? He whispered, not entirely sure who he was seeking answers from, the figure or the buried memories. Let go. It laughed, the sound harsh and biting. Some cling to their stories, their pain, hoping for those left behind to understand. She was captured by the weight of love, boy. It binds us stronger than death. For an instant, time halted. The air crackled with raw emotions, anguish, regret, longing. The ghostly figure loomed closer, the warmth of its touch like ice against his skin. What will you do now, brave one? Will you unearth the pain or bury it deeper? Will you listen, or hide again? Jake's breaths came quick and shallow. The truth of his mother's past was a heavy burden, alive in the rattle of memories. With the box cradled in his hands, his mind raced. Every question he had ever asked, every thought he buried about her death came flooding back. But now there was an urgency to unravel these mysteries, to unravel the truth she had left behind. The night pressed on, with shadows leaping as the bonfires burned higher, illuminating the scene with an otherworldly glow. The crowd held their collective breath, suspended between fear and curiosity. It was then, amidst the chaos of shushing whispers and racing hearts, when the earth trembled beneath him. A voice rose from the depths, echoing through the air, a wail, a pleading. Jake! As his heart thudded in his chest, the world around him blurred, and a deeper truth, one woven with sorrow, beckoned. What plea awaited him from the grave? With that haunting echo filling his ears, he realized his journey had only just begun, one that would lead him deeper into the very heart of his family's darkest secrets, and perhaps, his own salvation. What truth lay buried beneath the surface, waiting for him to discover? Jake's breath quickened, every heartbeat resonating louder than the whispers circling the crowd. Jake, the voice, haunting and familiar, sent icy tendrils of fear creeping through him. It was as though the earth itself was crying out, desperate for hearing and understanding, for redemption. A chill swept through him as he struggled to make sense of the darkness surrounding him. The figure shifted, its gaze like a knife, slicing through the tension. She calls out to you. Will you answer? There was a weight to the question, and for a brief moment, Jake hesitated. What if the truth was darker than he had anticipated? But he couldn't turn back now. Clutching the box tightly, he focused on the letter. Small, delicate like a fragile promise, it promised revelation. He could feel Clara's worried gaze sheltering him even from behind the murmur of the crowd. I have to know, he blurted, his voice shaking. With trembling hands, he unfolded the weathered paper, the scent of old ink mixing with the damp air around him. The letters swam before his eyes, the writing barely legible, but the words struck him like a physical blow. To my dearest Jake, each word drew him in, the familiar flow of his mother's love and pain magic-like. He read silently, grappling with the memories she had poured into those lines, her hopes, the formidable love trapped in her anguish, the secrecy she had kept. A cold realization settled like lead in his stomach. Something had been lost that she had never had the strength to share. The figure moved closer, the shadows sharp around it. You're feeling it, aren't you? The weight of unspoken truths. The cries of the silenced. Why didn't you tell me? Jake choked out, his voice barely audible over the unsettling winds sweeping past, carrying remnants of sorrow and regret. She couldn't bear to shatter the illusion of happiness, the figure replied, as if savoring each word. But now, the truth roams free, and it needs a voice. Yours. The air thickened, a tangible tension settling over the gathering. Suddenly, another wail rose up, more desperate, more demanding than before. Jake! Something shattered within him, a dam giving way. Each item in the box became a piece of a dark puzzle. The photographs hinted at smiles that felt wrong, the locket a promise of memories long suffocated. This was not just about her death, it was about a life lived in shadows. With newfound determination, he pressed on, a fragile sense of urgency coursing through him. What do you want from me? He shouted, his voice breaking against the chaos, as anger mixed with despair. The wind picked up, sweeping through the graves, leaves crackling like distant voices. The figure leaned nearer, its expression shifting to an intensity that froze Jake in place. You must confront the lies, the pain she carried. You must dig deeper to the heart of it all. The spirit of the truth will guide you. The crowd buzzed with uncertainty, whispers fluctuating like the flickering flames. Clara lurched forward, her face pale. Jake, we should stop. No. Jake's voice came out sharper than intended, and he took a step back, overwhelmed by the swirling emotions engulfing him. The night pressed on, every shadow seeming to twist and dance in mockery, urging him to uncover what was hidden. With steady hands, he took the locket from the box, a weighty symbol of battles fought and lost. The engraved initials gleamed under the moonlight like a promise unfulfilled. In that moment, he felt more than just pain, he felt a connection, a burning desire to set things right. Will you help her? The figure urged, its tone laced with both menace and desperate hope. Or will you let her story fade away? The wails crescendoed, resonating through the air with the force of a storm. Each note cried for closure, each breath echoed the weight of the past. Jake swallowed hard, staring deep into the shadowed figure's eyes, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. I will find the truth, he declared, a new resolve igniting within him. I will bring her home. With that vow hanging thickly in the air, the earth shook. Again, a violent shudder that sent shivers through the crowd. A grave at the edge of the cemetery cracked open, revealing a dark void that seemed to exhale a chilling invitation. Do you dare follow? The figure beckoned, its gaze drawing him toward the abyss. Jake felt a powerful pull. What awaited him in that darkness? Would he find the answers he sought, or was he stepping into a deeper nightmare? The night swallowed him whole as he took a step forward, plunging into the unknown. Jake plunged into the dark void, his heart pounding like a drum against the oppressive silence. The air thickened around him, filled with a heaviness that pressed against his chest. He felt as though he were stepping into a dream, or maybe a nightmare where the boundaries of reality blurred. The ground beneath him felt unstable, shifting like the memories swirling in his mind. Each step he took felt effortless and labored at once, as if gravity was wrestling with his will. Shadows loomed close, flickering like live flames, whispering secrets he wasn't yet ready to hear. What awaits you lies beyond the grave, the figure's voice echoed in the distance, a sinister reminder that he was not alone in this abyss. A soft glow began to emerge from within the darkness, illuminating tattered pages floating like leaves in an autumn breeze. They glimmered, enticing him as if holding the very essence of his past. Jake reached forward tentatively, his fingers brushing the fragile edges of the pages. A chill rushed through him, and he glanced back over his shoulder. Clara stood on the precipice of the graveyard, her face pale with worry, the crowd behind her frozen in silent anticipation. Jake! She called out, worry laced in her tone. He could feel the gravity of her voice pulling at him, but he steeled himself. He needed to understand. With a swift resolve, he took another step into the glow, the tendrils of light wrapping around him like an embrace. Images flashed in the illuminated pages, a life he didn't fully recognize. Kids laughing, a family gathered for a meal. Yet, as he sifted through the memories, he felt an odd dissonance. There were smiles, but Jake could sense shadows lurking behind each face. The laughter felt like a ghost echoing through the corners of his mind. It's an illusion, Jake. The figure's voice crept up behind him. All of this a mask. You think you know your mother's life, but these are only fragments, pieces of a truth she could never bear to reveal. You must piece them together. The memories swirled around him, some vivid and others mere outlines, like a flickering film reel. Each narrative hinted at darker undertones, struggles hidden behind the facade of normalcy. He saw men with grim faces, conversations laced with tension. A broken laugh escaped his lips. Why? Why didn't she tell me? The realization hit him hard. The world he thought he knew was built on secrets, lies designed to protect. Instead, they had boxed him in, but he couldn't pull away, even if the truth terrified him. He reached deeper into the memories, a compulsion taking hold. Each page revealed multitudes, a dark legacy interwoven with love, betrayal, and haunting choices. Suddenly, a scream pierced through the whispers, a shriek unlike anything he'd ever heard. "Jake! He's coming!" Clara's voice was barely discernible, lost in a flurry of chaos and confusion that he turned, and the glow behind him dimmed, the shadows thickening ominously. Something was moving, shifting just beyond his line of sight. A shape, dark and swirling, surged from the depths of the grave, coalescing into something menacing. Jake's breath quickened, panic clawed at him. He gripped the locket tightly, feeling the cold metal bite into his palm. The urge to flee warred with the need to stay and unravel the truth before him. The weight of his mother's legacy pressed on his chest. Confront him. The truth is what he fears. The figure's voice grew insistent, urgent. The shadows lunged forward, closing in like a predator stalking its prey. Fear coursed through him, but so did an electric determination. "I'm not afraid," he shouted, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. What lurked in the shadows was as much a part of his family's history as the love his mother had shown. The truth was both a weapon and a shield. He wasn't just uncovering her story, he was reclaiming his own. "Show me!" he roared, defiance igniting within him. The shadows hesitated, the air crackling with tension. He could still hear the wails echoing from outside the void. As the darkness flickered and seemed to withdraw, the darkness wasn't defeated but transformed. A guttural laughter echoed. "You think you can master the past? I'll show you what happens to the forgotten, those who dared to whisper against their own blood." His heart pounded in his ears. As the figure coiled closer, Jake knew he was standing on the precipice of a revelation that would change everything. However, at what cost? As the darkness pressed in, he couldn't tell where his courage ended and his fear began. Would he unlock the secrets of his mother's life or lose himself in this shadowed legacy? With every second, time stretched thin. The confrontation loomed ahead like an unstoppable wave. What awaited him on the other side? The truth could either shatter him or save him. And soon, he would find out just how far he was willing to go. As the laughter echoed, Jake felt his lungs tighten. It wasn't just fear he felt, it was an oppressive sense of inevitability. The shadowy figure before him twisted and morphed, its contours sharp and jagged, no longer humanoid but a mass of pure darkness. It radiated an aura of dread, each flicker further igniting the chilling memories swirling within the illuminated pages. "Who are you?" Jake demanded, his voice barely a whisper in the engulfing gloom. "I am the keeper of all you wish to forget," the figure hissed, each word laced with venom. "Your mother made a choice to hide these truths, to shield you from your heritage, a heritage soaked in blood and betrayal." Jake clenched his jaw, a storm of emotions coursing through him. He thought he had come to confront the past, to seek answers, but the shadows were shifting again, weaving his mother's silence into a tapestry of horror. He felt the air grow heavier, the whispers growing louder, a cacophony of twisted memories pressing in on all sides. What truth? He fought against the rising tide of despair, latching onto a sliver of determination. "What do you want from me?" The figure loomed closer, its breath like a gust of stale wind. "To remember is to reclaim, but some memories are better left buried. Are you ready to face your bloodline's sins? The sins she tried to shield you from?" He could see it now, a flicker within the shadows, an image of a woman with a radiant smile, but the warmth of her presence twisted sickeningly into visions of violence, a dark ceremony hidden in moonlight, oaths sworn in hushed voices, and a betrayal that resonated across generations. "No. It can't be!" Jake shouted, his voice breaking. He didn't want to believe it, but a thread of understanding began to unfurl within him. His mother's love had shielded him, but at what cost? "That's right," the shadow crooned, reveling in his confusion. "She knew. She knew what you were destined to inherit. And she tried to save you, to abandon the cycle of pain. But the truth is hardest to bury. Rage flared within him. Was this some monstrous trick crafted by whatever dark being stood beneath him? Was his mother just a coward? Or was the pain too great to bear alone? Enough! Jake yelled, stepping forward, the light from the pages brightening as his resolve swelled. I will not let this curse control me. You, whatever you are, you do not own me. The figure snarled, the shadows crackling around it like live wires. This heritage is not something you can just dismiss, boy. Follow me into the abyss and you'll find the truth you crave. But know this, sometimes, ignorance is bliss. As the words settled in the air, a blinding light surged from the pages, illuminating the darkness for a split second. Jake caught glimpses of stories undulating like waves. Pain was palpable, passion was a wildfire, and in the center of it all stood his mother with tears running down her face, an agonizing choice etched across her features. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, Jake felt an image crystallize in his mind. A location, a place steeped in his family's history. I will engage with this legacy, he resolved, his voice steady now. I will confront whoever haunts my bloodline. I refuse to let shadows define my future. As the glow from the pages enveloped him, Jake felt the darkness recoil momentarily. It screeched with rage, but it wouldn't let him go that easily. The laughter had shifted to a furious wail, as if the depths were warning him of the deep waters he was about to dredge into. Then prepare to face the true horror of your past. It spat, and the shadows lunged forward, threatening to reclaim Jake in a ravenous embrace. That he stood firm, eyes blazing with an intensity he'd never known, as the reality of choice washed over him. He knew the secrets awaited on the other side, in that location pulled from memory's depths. His mother's love might have protected him, but love wasn't enough anymore. It was time to take control. With every heartbeat, he pulled back the veil separating him from the truth, a truth that would either liberate him or drag him down into the abyss. Would he find answers that nourish his soul or become ensnared in a legacy of darkness? The next phase of his journey spiraled before him as the glowing pages lifted him in a dazzling whirlwind. What awaited him at the heart of his family's past? Could he reclaim his identity, or would he succumb to the very echoes he sought to understand? The world blurred as Jake was swept into the light, the shadows' wails fading into echoes that twisted in his mind. Suddenly, he found himself standing on a barren stretch of land, a desolate field smothered by a thick fog. The air was cold, biting into his skin. It felt wrong, as if every breath he took carried the weight of a forgotten sorrow. Jake looked around, confusion gnawing at him. This place the images flooding back was the old estate. It loomed in the distance, its dark structure a silhouette against the pale sky. His heart pounded, each thud resonating with the dread that curled in his stomach. Could this truly be where the secrets of his bloodline lay? He pressed forward, each step heavy with the burden of expectation. As he neared the estate, a terrible chill ran down his spine. The windows, once bright and welcoming in his memories, now appeared like empty sockets, as if they were watching him with a malevolent gaze. The door creaked open at his touch, revealing a dimly lit hallway lined with portraits of stoic figures, their painted eyes following his every move. It felt invasive, as though the ancestors he had never known were judging him for even daring to enter their domain. He swallowed hard, every instinct screaming at him to turn around, to run. But he couldn't back down now. He was here by choice but by a calling, a need to confront the grotesque history that plagued his family. His hand trembled as he brushed the dust from the nearest portrait, the face of a man whose features mirrored his own. A wave of anger swelled within him. Why? Jake demanded into the silence, barely believing he was speaking to shades from another time. Why couldn't you break free from this curse? As if in response, a sudden gust of wind swept through the hall, slamming the door behind him. The echo of the latch clicking into place sent shivers racing down his spine. Reality twisted, and shadows danced across the walls, merging into a dark mass that began to take form. I warned you, it hissed, the voice now familiar and haunting. The past cannot be escaped. It will consume you just as it consumed them. Every word dripped with venom, flooding Jake with terror. He understood now, the history he was set to uncover would strip away every illusion of safety he'd ever known. "Show me," he ordered, his voice shaking but defiant. "Show me the truth." The darkness surged forward, and suddenly, he was plunged into memories not his own. A frantic scene played out in shifting images, a night shrouded in fog, whispers of betrayal, and figures clad in ceremonial garb, the air buzzing with anticipation. His pulse raced as he witnessed moments he never lived, oaths made under the watchful gaze of the moon, a knife glistening with purpose, and blood draining onto the soil his soil. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just his family, it was a legacy entwined with violence and sacrifice. With every insight, pain clawed at him, a visceral understanding of the price of his heritage. It echoed in his chest, threatening to explode through him, but he fought to maintain control. "I am not them," he shouted, anger coursing through his veins. "Are you sure?" The figure mocked, twisting into a parade of dark faces, his history woven into a canvas of despair. Jake stumbled back, heart pounding, struggling against the overwhelming tide of guilt and anger. The walls seemed to close in around him. He could feel their regret, their hopelessness pressing in. Before he could catch his breath, a new vision emerged, a flicker of light. A young woman standing defiantly at the edge of the darkness, a glimmer of hope alive in her eyes. "Help me," the figure whispered as the shadows yearned to swallow her whole. "You must break the cycle. Only you can stop this." Jake's breath hitched. Hope, entangled in pain. A chance to rise above the abhorrent legacy that gripped his family. Could he fulfill that? Could he, through sheer will, change the very course of his lineage? As he steadied himself, the ground rumbled beneath him. The choice loomed. Would he heed the dark call or fight against the shadows? The air thickened with tension, an electric pulse racing through his body. He sensed the portal of truth swirling around him, ready to unveil deeper horrors, what lay hidden beneath the weight of tradition. Could he unlock the truth that held his family hostage, or would he find only despair awaiting him on the other side? The shadows pulsed like a heartbeat, radiating darkness that threatened to envelop Jake entirely. He felt the weight of their gaze, heavy and suffocating. A memory blinked brightly, briefly overpowering the terror, his grandmother's voice warning him of the ugly truths buried beneath their lineage. "Blood calls to blood," she used to say, her eyes haunted by grief. "It will not release you without a fight." Jake stiffened, the phrase echoing through the chambers of his mind. He forced himself to focus on the flickering light of the young woman, her plea cutting through the fog that wrapped around his thoughts. "Help me," she cried again. "You have the power to end this." Taking a deep breath, he anchored his determination to that fragile spark of hope. "I won't let you down," he promised, feeling a resolve stir within him. The shadows writhed, almost as if recoiling from his promise. "You think you can break free? You've only just begun to understand your chains." The mocking laughter spilled out like a chilling wind, reverberating through the hall. Jake squeezed his eyes shut, grappling with the doubts that clawed at the edges of his mind. Memories of screams, betrayal, and blood danced behind his eyelids, twisting into a cacophony of despair. But resting beneath it all was a flicker of defiance, an ember he refused to extinguish. He opened his eyes, prepared to confront whatever darkness lay ahead. "What do I need to do?" he shouted into the swirling mass, demanding clarity from the chaos. The looming shadows faltered, momentarily stunned by his fury. "Face the truth," the ominous voice roared, exploding with a deluge of darkness. The walls trembled, reverberating with the echoes of countless lives succumbed to the family curse. "You must descend deeper, to the heart of it all." Jake felt the ground shift underfoot, a pull toward the depths of darkness beyond his control. Before he could react, tendrils of shadow wrapped around his ankles, dragging him downward. Fear surged through him, raw and unfiltered. He could feel the icy touch of the past grasping at his soul. But he fought against it, pushing back with memories of his grandmother, her strength and the flickering hope in that young woman's eyes. The descent through the void was dizzying. He saw fleeting glimpses of his family, trapped in cycles of grief and despair, their faces twisted with pain, each step further sealing his fate. With a final jolt, he landed hard on a cold stone floor, breathless and disoriented. The air was thick with the scent of decay. He blinked against the darkness and realized he stood in a vast chamber, illuminated by flickering torches lining the walls. Symbols of ritual etched into stone breathed an ancient malevolence. In the center of the chamber was a large, circular altar, stained red with the memories of sacrifice. A figure was bound upon it, obscured by the shadows. The glimmer of light flickered just above, displaying ghastly details that made Jake's stomach churn. "Who are you?" he demanded, heart racing. The figure lifted its chin, revealing eyes filled with desperation that no longer mirrored his own but bore an uncanny resemblance. It was as if looking into a shattered reflection of himself, a part of his ancestry he never wanted to claim. The figure whispered, barely audible, "You must decide. Will you finish what they started?" The weight of the moment crashed down upon him. He was trapped in a legacy of horrors, now staring at the soul of his own lineage. Would he seal it by repeating history, or was there a chance to rewrite their fate? The shadows crept closer, the whispers intensifying, demanding an answer. Jake's heart thundered, each beat echoing the collective cries of his ancestors. Would he succumb to the darkness, or could he grasp the light? "Now, you must choose." The voice roared again, and he felt it coil around him, tightening like a noose. With his heart pounding in his chest, he took a deep breath, and a surge of courage rushed through him. But before he could voice his answer, something shifted in the air, a crack like thunder. Split open the chamber, revealing a blinding light beyond. What awaited him on the other side? Could he finally escape the clutches of his family's past, or would the legacy bind him forever? The blinding light consumed the room. Jake shielded his eyes, momentarily lost in the brightness. He felt as if he were caught in a storm of brilliance, his mind racing with the weight of the decision before him. The shadows screeched, trying to pull him back into their chilling embrace, but the light was different. It called to him, a whisper promising liberation. "Don't let them take you." The bound figure pleaded, urgency lacing its voice. "You're stronger than this." His heart pounded. The shadows thrummed with power, mocking him. "You think a flicker can defeat the dark? You belong to us, Jake. Blood binds, you know." He shouted, forcing the darkness back with sheer will, focusing everything he had on that brilliant glow. The past clawed at him, memories of failure and despair filling his mind. But he could also feel his grandmother's strength surging through his veins. The warmth of her memory invigorated him. With an unyielding shout, he took a step toward the light. It enveloped him, overwhelming the bitterness of his lineage, the shadows ripping at his body as he pushed forward. For a moment, everything fell silent. An eternal pause stretched over the chaos. Then, he stumbled forward into the light, the world around him exploding into vivid colors. He gasped as he found himself standing in a familiar place, his grandmother's old attic. Boxes were scattered everywhere, faded photographs peeking out from the chaos. It felt like stepping into the past, yet he knew this was a moment pulled from multiple realities. But something was wrong. A chill ran down his spine as he noticed the shadows clinging to the corners, alive and watching. They seemed to pulse rhythmically, almost breathing. "Every skeleton in your family's closet can't hide from you," a soft voice called out, and Jake turned sharply. There stood the young woman, now vibrant and alive. "You did choose to face the truth. But understanding what you unleash can have devastating consequences." "What do you mean?" he asked, breath hitching. "I thought I was free." "Free?" She laughed softly, and yet there was a deep sadness behind her eyes. "Freedom is an illusion, every choice has a consequence. The past won't let go so easily, Jake. You've awakened something ancient." Jake's chest tightened. What did I awaken? The shadows began to writhe in agitation, their whispers rising, clamoring for attention as the atmosphere shifted. Images flashed before him, horrific rituals, anguished spirits tethered to this place, shackled by generations of bloodshed. Each frame a memory, each memory a curse he couldn't deny any longer. The woman stepped closer, her voice urgent. You must confront your lineage. Only by facing them can you break these chains. Or you could unleash the darkness fully, trapping yourself and countless others in a nightmare. A new dread filled him as he weighed her words. Could he really banish the past, or would it consume him? The shadows pressed in, hissing in fury as if sensing his internal struggle. He could sense a shift any choice made now might ignite or extinguish the burgeoning havoc. What do I do? He whispered, panic wrapping around his heart and squeezing. The woman pointed toward a dusty mirror propped against the wall, its surface swirling with darkness. That mirror holds the truth of your family. Look into it and face what lies within. Your decision will shape what happens next. Torn between fear and responsibility, Jake stepped toward the mirror. His reflection seemed to shimmer, shifting between versions of himself, each marked by the shadows of the choices others had made. But could he truly alter the course of history? As he reached out, the ground beneath him trembled. Shadows surged, eager to reclaim him. He hesitated, the weight of his bloodline heavy on his shoulders. Will you fight for the light? She urged, her voice steady and fierce. Or will you become just another vessel of darkness? Jake took a deep breath. This was the moment. He was standing on the precipice of legacy, the chance to redefine his fate. But as he began to utter a resolution, a deep rumble shook the attic, the shadows howled in rage, and the mirror shattered, sending shards of reality spiraling through the air. What new horrors awaited him, and could he withstand the tempest that was about to erupt? Jake braced himself as the shards of the mirror cascaded to the floor, each piece reflecting fragments of his shattered lineage. The shadows writhed around him, their cries filling the air with an unbearable tension. He could feel the weight of history bearing down on him, threatening to crush him under its dark intensity. This is it, he thought, determination igniting within him. This is my moment to choose. The young woman stepped closer, her presence warm in the escalating chaos. You have the strength to break this cycle, Jake, she urged. But it requires courage, and the willingness to face your truth. He looked into her eyes, reflected there was not just sorrow, but a flicker of hope. It surged within him, pooling at his center. He wouldn't allow the shadows to claim him or his family's legacy. Enough! He shouted, his voice ringing out with newfound authority. The darkness recoiled, stunned by his conviction. I choose to confront this, to acknowledge the pain and anger that has been buried. I will not be a slave to my past. As he spoke, the colors of the attic shifted, swirling like a tempest. Memories flared, scenes swirling before him, tensions among family members, whispered arguments, heartbreaking goodbyes. Each image felt alive, each caught gasp resonating deep within him. He reached out now, not in fear or anger, but in understanding. I name you, he proclaimed, pointing to the shadows, fear, betrayal, regret. You have held my family captive for far too long. With each word, the shadows screamed in protest, snapping like wild flames. He felt the fear and pain within them, an agonizing echo of his family's history. And yet, within him, a warmth blossomed, as though the love of his mother and grandmother wrapped around him like an embrace. I will not turn away, he vowed. Together, we can heal. Together, we can release the grip of sorrow over our bloodline. The young woman beamed, her strength combining with his. That's it. Don't let them draw you back into despair. With renewed determination, Jake closed his eyes and reached deeper into the swirling memories, determined to gather up the collective sorrow instead of running from it. Instead of resisting, he embraced the pain, the regrets, and the love of those who had come before him. It surged forth, mingled with the flames of understanding. Suddenly, he felt a shift in the air. The land quaked as the shadows began to peel away, revealing flickering specters of ancestral spirits. Faces he recognized, his mother, his grandmother, even distant relatives, all emerging from the darkness, their expressions filled with a mix of fear and longing. "Jake!" His mother's whisper cut through the chaos. "You have the power to set us free." Tears streamed down Jake's cheeks as he gazed at her, the anguish of longing wrenching his heart. "I'm here," he whispered, "I will bring you home." The spirit started to glow brighter, harmonizing with his resolve. He held on to their love tightly, pushing against the shadows, using the collective strength of his family to anchor their essence into the future. "Let the pain become the light," he cried, feeling the truth encompass him, radiating outward. "Let the ashes rise again, born of love." The shadows thrashed, but their cries diminished in volume as the connection between him and his family grew stronger. With one final surge of energy, he felt the veil of darkness shatter. In an explosion of brilliant light, the shackles binding his ancestors to sorrow and regret broke apart. A chorus of joyous laughter mingled with cries of sorrow turned to peace filled the air. Their spirits began ascending, twirling with joy instead of despair, wrapped in the knowledge that their truths had finally been heard. When the last echoes of the shadows faded, silence enveloped Jake. He fell to his knees, breathing in the fresh scent of liberation. Warm sunlight streamed through the attic windows, illuminating the dust motes like scattered stars. "Jake," the young woman whispered, and he looked up to meet her gaze, radiant in the aftermath. "You dared to face the unknown. You." V turned anguish into understanding. "This is how cycles are broken." He nodded, the enormity of what he achieved settling over him like a comforting blanket. He felt his heart swell with the joy of release, knowing he wouldn't carry the burden alone anymore. "Thank you," he murmured, feeling as though he had activated a dormant part of himself, something he could now harness to create a brighter future. As her form began to flicker with fading light, she smiled softly. "You will always carry their stories within you. Cherish them. And remember, you have the power to weave new tales filled with love instead of darkness." With that, she vanished, leaving Jake alone in the attic. Yet, somehow, he didn't feel alone. He felt whole. Gathering himself, Jake pushed the remnants of sadness behind him, strengthened by the lessons of the past. He stood up, dusting himself off, filled with hope for the life that lay ahead. Jake stepped out of the old estate into the living world beyond. The sky sparkled with dawn's first light, illuminating a path of new beginnings. It wouldn't always be easy, but he was ready to embrace the journey armed with the truths of his legacy. He had freed the ashes of those who came before. Now, he would forge forward, ready to create a future where love reigned, and the past transformed into lessons of hope. And as he took that first step, a whisper from deep within echoed through him: "The past may shape us, but it does not define us." The clock began to tick again, this time in harmony with his heartbeat. Now, here's the moment for you to join Jake on this journey. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on more exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the thrill going. Flood the comments section below with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this shocking conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see how things ended. This is the moment to show your support. Let us keep this incredible community thriving.